残酷な天使のように少年よ神話になれHi, and welcome back to Cosplay and Cocktails. We don't put the words together cause it's bad. I'm your host, Taylor Smurl, and today we're going to be talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion, the mega hit Japanese anime from 1995. Now, Neon Genesis Evangelion, if you are not familiar with it, tells the story of a young boy, Shinji Ikari, who has the unique designation of being the one teenage boy known to God and man who, when offered the ability to pilot a giant mecha and kill monsters, is like, nah, I'm good. He's joined by a friendly cast of a weird clone and an angry German, and he's aided in his maturation by a friendly functional alcoholic, Misato Katsuragi, who acts as his guardian and companion throughout his education, while he learns the important life lesson that it's not really about saving the world because he blows at that, but the clones you make along the way. Yeah, I don't really know what the show's about. It's batshit crazy. It goes off the rails real hard at the end, but it's iconic, it's amazing, it's cool, and if you haven't seen it, you are missing out on an essential piece of Japanese animation from the 90s. Now, as I mentioned, I am cosplaying as Misato Katsuragi, Major Misato Katsuragi, one of the main characters of the show. Misato has a bit of a habit when it comes to beer. You see her drink beer throughout the show. She starts her mornings with it. I remember when I first saw the show, and I first watched this probably when I was like 14, back in like the, early 2000s. And I thought it was so cool, like, oh, wow, she's so cool, getting up and having a beer. Now I'm like, oh, beer at 9 a.m. Hey, Misato, you're in a bad place. You could use some help. Maybe find like a healthy coping mechanism. I don't know. Not the beer, not the sleeping with your bad ex-boyfriend. I don't know. But hard relate. Been there, girlfriend. Coffee, I promise. So, of course, I would be remiss to make a cocktail in honor of Evangelion dressed as Misato and not make it a beer cocktail. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, as far as what we're going to be using, the beers we mainly see Misato drink, and she hits all the big ones. It's mainly Yebisu is what her fridge is stocked with. There's also some Kirin in there. And I'm pretty sure there's an event she goes to where the bottles on the table look a lot like Sapporo bottles. Can't be positive. But the beer we see her drinking is all basically a very similar style, a very malty, light Japanese beer. Personally, they're my favorite kind of beers for the summer. They're great for a hot day. They're great for session drinking because they're lower in alcohol. You can drink a lot of them and still keep your wits about you, which I guess is good for Misato, who, has access to major military operations, Actually, some brilliant internet scientists did the math and deduced that Misato drinks an average of 11 beers a day. Don't do that. So, while I do love all those beers, they aren't great for a cocktail because they're a little light and malty. They aren't super flavorful. So I'm deciding to base this cocktail around a different Japanese beer, specifically the red rice ale from Hitachi no Nest. Hitachi no Nest is a line of craft beer that's brewed in the Koichi Brewery, which is based in Naka. Now, the brewery itself goes back to the 1800s, but it didn't start specifically making craft beer until 1996. So, Hitachi no Nest is about as old as Evangelion. Actually, fun side note about the timeline of Evangelion. So, the anime came out in 95, but it's set 20 years in the future, so it's set in 2015. So even though when I was watching it, it was set in the future, it is now technically set in the past. And the character that the Misato actually is canonically born in 1986, which is the year I am born. I am actually Misato years old. So, had Misato survived the events of Neon Genesis Evangelion, oops, spoiler, we would be the same age. R.A.P. Literally everyone. So yeah. So Hideshino Nest makes a ton of really amazing Japanese microbrews. They're really unique flavor profiles. They're really creative. But I really like the red rice ale. It has a nice bitterness to it. It has a beautiful color, and it has a really distinct fruitiness. So I think it's going to work well for my concept here, because basically with all of those 11 beers that Misato is at least drinking on a daily basis, and that's not counting the sake, because there are plenty of shots where girlfriend's got a lot of sake bottles in the background. Not judging, just noting. I am going to make Misato a bit of a hangover helper beer cocktail. So, the most basic go-to beer cocktail there is probably a shandy. Now, traditionally, a shandy is just beer with a mixer, usually ginger ale, or sometimes lemonade. Now, the lemonade that goes in a shandy is not our American idea of lemonade. This I learned the hard way by working in bars with a lot of international clientele. The shandy comes to us from the UK, and in the UK, lemonade means something very different. Lemonade is bubbly, it's sparkling. It's a lemon-lime flavored sparkling beverage, closer to like Sprite, I guess, here in the States. It's a little less sweet from what I understand. So when you make a shandy with lemonade, you're not using flat lemonade in our sense, which is lemonade, sugar, and water. You're using a sparkling beverage. So you can see why it fits a little bit more as an alternative to ginger ale. I have had many, like a British customer order a vodka lemonade from me, and I have to clarify before it gets sent back that what they want is actually more like a vodka Sprite and not vodka and my homemade American lemonade. You know what? This jacket is like 100% plastic, and I'm gonna get real sweaty real fast. And I got a lot of talking to do before I get to that cold beverage. So we're gonna break the guns out. Watch out, Kaji. That's mean and bad. He dies. Just gonna hear. Can you just put this on? Misato has a penguin that she lives with named Pen Pen. It's probably 90% of why I love the show. So we're going to use an approximation of the UK version of lemonade, which is sparkling. If you're a weeb, you probably know where I'm going with this. Ramune! Woo! How many sweaty, disgusting anime conventions have you survived on with this and like Anpan? You know, God, yeah, I remember going to Otakon in like 2002. The era of yaoi paddles, walking around just freaked out on sugar from ramune and paki. Oh, God. I am Misato years old. I am yaoi paddles years old. Okay, so we're going to be combining our red rice ale with some ramune. So ramune actually dates back to 1884. It was invented in Kobe, but actually by a Scotsman. A scientist by the name of Alexander Cameron Sim, who was living in Kobe, invented ramune as sort of an homage to lemonade as he understood it. So the name ramune is actually like based on the romaji of demone, lemonade. So it's lemonade written with Japanese characters and in Japanese pronunciation gives us ramune. So ramune, in its root, is sort of a companion to the UK lemonade. Now, it comes in a variety of flavors. The original one was probably an approximation of like a lemon lime, but you have it in melon, strawberry, lychee, grape. There's a lot of different ramune out there. So, based on my idea of making kind of a hangover helper for Misato, I went with the orange flavor. We're gonna make this a bit of a breakfast beer cocktail, all right? So, got our orange ramune, we've got our red rice ale. I'm gonna throw in a couple modifiers. I'm gonna add a little bit of aperol. It's gonna give us a nice red color that I think is a fair association with Eva. If you're gonna make an Evangelion cocktail, just make it all red and bloody. There's a lot of death. And we're also going to throw in a little bit of yuzu juice. We're going to build this drink in this weird futuristic margarita glass that's going to kind of fit the little trick I have for this drink, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, so in our glass, we're going to do a ½ ounce of yuzu. And I've talked about yuzu before. Yuzu is just a Japanese citrus. I find it distinctly sort of roasty, kind of almost a savory citrus. Then I'm going to do an ounce of aperol. This is going to work really well with those fruity qualities in our red rice ale, and also it pairs great with orange. That's going to highlight our orange ramune. So a full ounce of that. All right. Now, if you've never opened a ramune, this is super fun. So the lid comes with this little piece in it. And what this does is, see, there's this glass marble anchored in the top that you're going to push in, and that's going to open up the drink. So this is just like a super old school way of keeping the carbonation in there. It's really creative. It's really cool. It's also really fun. Also can be a little frustrating when you're trying to drink it because that marble almost does its job too well. But there you go. I've definitely messed this up before. It actually took me a long time to realize that you're supposed to detach this piece and not try to push it down through. That's not because of the functionality of this. That's because sometimes I'm super dumb. All right. Yeah. Now, into our little aperol and yuzu mix, I'm going to fill up, if you're measuring, I'm going to use about 3 ounces of this, but I'm going to fill it up to about the peak of this. There you go. And then I'm going to top it with a good, 5 ounces of my red rice ale. Now, I am going to leave a little bit of room in the top of this for our last ingredient. Ooh. I could not resist including in this drink some Angel's Envy bourbon. But it works thematically, obviously. It's Angel's Envy. You fight a bunch of angels. It makes sense. But also, Angel's Envy is a bourbon, but it's finished in port barrels. So it has a really nice kind of tannic, fruity quality to it that it's also going to work with everything we got going on here. We're going to make this a little bit of a boiler maker. So a boiler maker is when you have a shot of liquor that you drop into a beer. In this case, we got a beer cocktail. So we're going to drop our Angel's Envy into our cocktail. The most iconic and my favorite, of course, my favorite angel from Evangelion is the last angel, the fifth child, Kaoru. Hi, baby. Hello. Fun fact, in the original concept for Evangelion, Kaoru was meant to be so weird. Kaoru was meant to be a boy who was actively puppeteered by a sentient cat. So there was going to be this cat that was actually the last angel that just kind of puppeteered this boy. But then I guess that got scrapped somewhere in production, which I'm a little mad that we didn't get weird puppeteered cat boy Kaoru. Also, gave us some, very, look, we were thirsty for some gay rap in the 90s, okay? We took what we could get, and Kaoru brought us a little bit gay with his, I guess at this point, infamous I like you / I love you line to Shinji. The argument was in the original translation, he should have said I love you, and that by making it I like you, you kind of take the sentiment out, and the gay. Now, here's the thing in Japanese culture that's a little bit confusing for those of us in the Western world. Saying suki desu or daisuki desu, which means I like you, to somebody, or I really like you to somebody, is on equivalent with saying that you really like somebody, like you love them. There's aishiteru, which is I love you. But people don't really say that. That's not really, it's almost like overkill, So it's far more common if you want to tell your lover, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your partner that you love them, you would say suki desu yo. Which, yes, the translation would be I like you. It's just that I like you carries more weight in Japanese culture. So the translation of Kaoru telling Shinji I like you is both correct and kind of incorrect in the subtext. Aishiteru pen pen. We're at an Aishiteru, okay? That's where I'm at here. With the penguin. Far beyond suki desu. My drink's gonna be flat by the time I finish this. One of the important sort of apocryphal items in Evangelion is this Lance of Longinus that can penetrate these dangerous fields that the angels can generate. It's this very important weapon, of which I have remade in cocktail size out of Warbler. Yes, other cosplayers spend their time making armor and helmets and cool shit, and I'm like, I want to make a cocktail pick out of the Lance of Longinus. Woo! That's what I did. My little dingle hopper here. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing. It's a different video. So I'm going to use this as my garnish, and I'm going to load it up with some fruit. Let's put a lemon on there, maybe some strawberries. Just make this a nice little snack. Got this nice big orange twist that I'm going to wrap all the way around it. It's my decked out lance. It's extra shit, and it makes no sense. Much like the final 2 episodes of Evangelion. Alright, I am not even going to try to pick this up for the camera. You can see what's going on. I guess I could drop this in there. Kind of our second to the marble situation here. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, get in there. Get in there. Yeah, look cute. Get in there. Alright. Here we go. Now, here is my little Misato hangover helper cocktail that I am going to call the Second Impact. The events of Evangelion are sort of set in motion by a cataclysmic natural disaster that occurs in Antarctica called the Second Impact. And so, you know, I think I've woken up many days with a 11 plus beer hangover in my youth that I might need a second impact to deal with. Cheers! Like, what am I doing? What is this? What is my life? Tastes like unsealed acrylic paint. That's nice, actually, though. It's a very light, fruity, refreshing, kind of brunchy drink, you know, that definitely has a nice orange flavor. It's got a little touch of bitterness there. Definitely doesn't taste like a heavy cocktail at all. That whiskey just disappears in there. So here we go. Here is our Second Impact cocktail, our homage to the absolute tragedy that is Neon Genesis Evangelion, but also Major Misato Katsuragi, who, you know what, after all the shit that she puts up with, could probably use a bit of a stiffer drink than just some beer. So cheers to you. Was I the only one who thought the saddest scene in the original anime was when she said goodbye to Pen Pen? She, like, sends her penguin off to live with other people because she knows that, like, the end days are coming. I teared up. Oh, look, wait. It's the perfect size! Ah, the final angel all along! I have not had 14 beers today, but you'd think. Now, of course, there is a newer Evangelion out there, Evangelion Rebuild, which came out in 2007, I believe. Rebuild is weird, because what Rebuild does is basically take the original plot of Evangelion and sort of retell it. It has a bigger budget. I would definitely agree that it has better animation. It's very beautifully animated. The fight scenes are fantastic. My problem with Rebuild is that it kind of purposely remakes Evangelion into more of a like straightforward shonen mecha kind of anime, and it's less weird. It's less cerebral. Now, lore says that part of the reason that the original Evangelion got so weird at the end is because budget issues. Basically, they were just out of money, so they had to use a lot of still animation and weird reused clips. And those last 2 episodes, I mean, there's a lot of strange stuff going on. That's the beauty of Evangelion for me, right? It is that it ends without a giant boss battle. It ends with this kind of weird cerebral acceptance of yourself and this kind of rundown of every character's internal landscape. It's really a gorgeous, very strange ending to the show, but perhaps was largely created because there was a lot of budget restraints going on. I'm not hating on Rebuild. Ultimately, it's art. Art is subjective, and I think that there are amazing qualities to both the original anime series and the Rebuild. As a fan of the original, I really enjoyed just having any more content, like anything more that I can have that's Eva related, I'm happy to. Any extended universe, any additional lore. But, it's up to you. If you're a fan of the original anime, I'd say check out the Rebuild. I wouldn't start with the Rebuild. I'd start with the original and then move on to the Rebuild if you're a big fan. There's also movies. There are manga that changes the plot. There are additional animes and all sorts of stuff. There's a lot in the world of Evangelion if you were interested in it. But the original 26 episode show is definitely the starting point. I think, you buckle in for that and then go as far as you want with it. For me, I would say that Eva is probably the anime more than anything else that got me to dig deeper into anime. And it's also credited as sort of saving the Japanese animation landscape. When it came out, it really revitalized the industry and pushed the idea of these shorter, more artistic series versus, which is still, I think, a problem in anime today, where you get these shows that go on for like 10 seasons and there's like hundreds of episodes and there's so much filler and there's just, at some point, you can't stick with it. The beauty of Eva was that it was 26 episodes, that was it. It was to the point, it moved, and then it was done. And that formula, I think, is still highly successful to this day. And definitely my favorite shows, I think, fall into that formula. So I hope you've enjoyed this walk through late 90s, early 2000s otaku memory lane. I certainly have. There will definitely be more videos to come from that era and genre, so look forward to that. If you like this video, let me know in the comments. If you have suggestions for other animes, characters, cocktails you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. Please please subscribe. The recipe for the second impact cocktail will be down below. The instructions for making your own Lance of Longinus is just, give up on ever making serious builds and just do stupid shit. And thank you for joining me. I will be back soon with another bordering on cringe cosplay video. I've been Taylor Sproul, and this has been Cosplay and Cocktails. Aoi, kaze ga ima, mune no doa o tataite mo, watashi dake yo, tara mitsumete, hoenderu ana.